Welcome into this edition of Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. We are looking at what is a team that is now 1-1 in district play. The Broken Arrow Tigers, sitting down with head coach Josh Blankenship once again. A tale of two halves again this week, but this time on the good side of things. A solid second half out of this group against Yukon. Let's go ahead and get right into it and break down that game against Yukon. We mentioned in the episode last week, there can be a ton of distractions around what is a homecoming game. Maybe not the start that this group wanted, but boy, the finish was certainly there, and it was a dominant fashion of a finish. Defense pitched to shut out and, knocked the starting quarterback out of the game as well. And those are games that, scenarios like that, they don't happen on accident at times. You play physical against guys that want to run the football, things happen, and this defense did a great job in the second half.
They did. We challenged them all week about, like you just mentioned, blocking out all the distractions. And, then we also had a distance learning day on Friday, so the kids aren't in their normal routine. So they had every excuse to not be locked in and come out and start the way they needed to start. But like you said, fortunately, we figured out how to reconnect and refocus and go do what we needed to do in the second half.
Looking at the adjustments in the locker room, we'll get to that in a moment, but just that start to the ball game, it was back and forth for a bit there. What was maybe that mindset from a coaching staff standpoint, some of those conversations between, coaches and coaches rather than coaches and players during that process, trying to maybe figure out those first, 24 minutes of the ball game?
Yeah, tip of the hat to Yukon. They wanted to play some ball control, keep our offense off the field clearly, and they were effective in doing that. When you convert as many first downs as they were in that first half, and then they end in points, you've got to play keep up, especially, we received the ball to open up that first half at the beginning of the game, and then our first play, we turned the ball over. So right away we've given away a possession, and that played right into their game plan. So that was challenging. We're talking, you ask about coach to coach, it's more about, are they doing anything different than what we had planned for? No. All right, number 14 is a lot better than we thought he was on film.
Right.
So we need to have a plan for that. Slight adjustments, but the main thing was just finding a way to get our guys to do what they're capable of doing. There wasn't an elaborate game plan or anything outside of the ordinary. It was how do we focus in and go do what we're supposed to do without pre-snap penalties, without turning the ball over. Will we start tackling better? Will we get lined up right and do our jobs? And then in the second half, we did it.
Yeah, looking at the second half, locker room conversation, everybody goes in there. It's a tight game. Typically, you look at an opponent maybe and you compare yourself as a player in that locker room. Well, we're down 28 to 20. Yeah. Sometimes you think, okay, no problem, we've got this. But I think that this group and maybe some others expecting maybe a different result in the first half against a team like Yukon, but we've been saying it all week. This district is no joke. Everybody comes to play, and what was that message like in the locker room?
Exactly what you said is the problem, is when you're looking at your opponent and you're trying to compare or you're trying to figure out how good or how bad or whatever, we're missing it. It's always about us. It's always about our preparation. It's always about our focus, our execution, doing our jobs. And when you let anything get in the way of that, you're going to go play a first half like we did. And so the halftime conversation was really a question. Is it them? Is it Yukon? Or is it us? And a resounding, it's us. And so the message was simply, well, go fix it.
Right.
And we didn't change our plan. We didn't change. There was nothing to change other than the way we were going to play.
Yeah, the mentality was certainly different. It seemed, we look at individuals like Nathan Martin, we look at individuals like John Broehl. We're going to have those guys on the podcast. They stood out in that second half, making plays all over the field, getting to the quarterback. It's a game of attrition at times, and to get to the outside off the edge like that, like some of these guys did in a game that's late, in a game that's tiring, taxing on the offenses, taxing on the defenses. Just talk about that resilience and getting to the quarterback in the end.
That's what our defense wants to do. I know all defenses do, but we design things to be a pressure defense and get hits on the quarterback. Broehl had the game of his life, and we awarded him and celebrated his performance. Not just on defense, but he's playing both ways. He's playing tight end on offense. And then what I thought was probably the most game-changing play was that fake punt where we throw it to John Broehl. And when he catches it, he's still about 8 yards short of the first down, and then ping-pongs his way and drags some guys for the first, I thought was the moment that really flipped everything.
Yeah, I mean, it takes everybody, but not just everybody on both sides of the ball at times, for sure. Looking at the outlook on your defense, maybe in hindsight now, the game's over with. You look to next week, Edmond Santa Fe. We'll get to a segment where we'll chat about that game in total, but your takeaway from your defense, kind of when you're just sitting in your office 30 minutes after the game.
What do we have to do to get them to play like they're capable of playing for 4 quarters? What do we have to do to get these reoccurring mistakes fixed? The only answer we talked about it all weekend as a staff, but the only solution I know is to coach better. So as the head coach, I'm meeting with both staffs, individuals. I would like to see you do this more. I would like this to be addressed in this way. And it's not a butt chewing. It can be taken that way, certainly, but I can't go have an individual meeting with every player that's playing in the game. I can't go sit in every position meeting with every position group. That's why we have the staff that we do. So my job's to push them to elevate themselves. And when they elevate themselves, it's amazing how the kids mirror that.
The defense, we chatted about it. We'll get an opportunity when we come back from break to chat about the offense. It was a fantastic game at the end of things, looking for a big outset as well against Edmond Santa Fe. We'll be right back after the break on Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib with the offense.
Hey, Broken Arrow fans! Score big with TTCU Federal Credit Union's School Pride Card. Each time you use your card, we donate to Broken Arrow Public Schools, adding to the $2.5 million we've given statewide. TTCU, where members are raving fans.
For families who like to build their wealth while staying liquid, we have flexible rate CDs to keep your funds working hard, even when you're not. First National Bank of Broken Arrow. The right balance.
Welcome back to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. Looking at the offense now. Keeping pace is kind of how I would describe it in the first half against Yukon. They did so. They kept it a manageable game, found a way to stay in it, and then, of course, in the second half, really shined as well. Talk about the maybe different chapters of the book that you would call the offense against Yukon this past week. I thought there was a lot of bright spots throughout the game. You didn't get them all in just one, maybe quarter or one drive.
No, and that was, you talk about keeping pace. I think one of the traps you can fall into is you think keeping pace means you've got to get in 10 personnel and throw it every down.
Right. Yeah.
The way we were going to keep pace is by sticking with our game plan, and our game plan was to run the football this week. And we're very capable of that. That's one of our strengths. And so I think that's what we did well. We've still got to clean up pre-snap penalties. We've still got to clean up turning the ball over. But sticking with our game plan, even when you're trying to catch up or you're playing from behind, I was really pleased with what we did there.
Looking at your run game as well, you get Roberson back in, of course, after serving that suspension, just playing one quarter against Owasso. And you get a whole district game now to look at what your unit looks like there in the backfield. Impressions of that, and Roberson just seemed to be right back to normal business.
Octavian is elite, and the fact that he's only a sophomore is pretty unbelievable. But then up front, our offensive line is really starting to click. They're really physical and nasty and really becoming efficient in almost everything they're doing. You put those 3 backs that we have back there behind that group, with Octavian obviously being the bell cow, but then Caden Lawless, Cowboy, coming in, and then our freshman Corey Sango that's coming in and running like a maniac is a lot of fun to watch. And then obviously Jeremiah and the receivers and tight ends and the threats that they pose. We've had games where we're throwing it for 300, and this wasn't going to be one of those games. And so for the guys to be patient and stick with the game plan was a good thing.
Corey Sango, did want to chat about him. The guy is fast, and he's just a freshman. Number 45 in black and gold. He's going to make an impression, and he already has. Talk about the depth. And, of course, sitting right next to me is Coach Mo Wallace, and he's sitting there going, okay, this is where this kid belongs. And
they've got another one at the freshman level that I could have justified bringing up as well. So Corey's special, but his skill set really fits what we're running and how we run it. I can't have a guy that we're going to hand the ball off and he wants to patter his feet in the backfield. I need a guy that's almost going to almost close his eyes and run like he's scared and hit the A-gap.
Yeah, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he runs downhill, and that's what you want.
I will tell you, he is dense, though. I mean, he's made of iron, and he's going to be a very muscled-up, thick back as he matures.
Yeah, looking at guys like Jeremiah Satemba, maybe not the biggest quarterback in the world, but I go back to a couple of plays that he was able to make where he's breaking tackles, he's stiff-arming away from tackles, and he's getting into the end zone. You described him maybe as a natural pocket passer from his own mind, trying to get him to branch out a bit. Is that the goal? Because it seems like he's getting more comfortable moving with his feet. And because he did that this past week, they were able to punch it into the end zone, and maybe that's a big impact play that makes an ultimate difference in a win right there.
Yeah, I think Jeremiah is settling into what his identity is. We're not trying to push him to be something different. We have no plans to try and push him to be a running quarterback. He is naturally a dual threat guy because of his talent. What he's doing a much better job the more games that he plays is when he drops back and he doesn't like what he sees, he's very savvy of finding those escape lanes. He's very smart about where the sticks are, and he's going to get first downs, and that's his job, is to move the chains, and he's starting to settle into that.
Looking at the overall course of the offense, is there maybe a quarter that stuck out to you, maybe a drive that stuck out to you that said, this is the kind of football we want to play, not just this week, but every week going down the stretch? When you're in the film room, is there that drive that you're highlighting that I've got to show my group this because this is what they're made of and this is what they're doing when they're at their best?
It was when we were on the end of the field, that south end down going towards the student section, and there were multiple plays. Corey Sango, like you said, hitting the A-gap and keeping his feet, through contact and getting more than a first down. Cowboy on a long run, bouncing off multiple tacklers and getting it into the end zone. Octavian on a fly sweep, flying around the corner and putting it in the end zone. That 2-point conversion to Octavian on that quick pitch where that number 14 of Yukon scrapes through about 8 of his own teammates and then meets Octavian at the goal line. And a huge collision, but Octavian keeps his feet and then still steps in for the 2-point play. Everything on that end in the fourth quarter, the grit, the nastiness, the toughness, the determination, that's what we've got to be all the time.
That looks like a team that I would take each and every week for sure. We'll get to our player segment. We're going to chat with Nathan Martin and John Broehl, a couple of guys that are key on the defensive side of the ball, and we saw that especially in the second half this past week. We'll get to that, and then we'll wrap up with our final segment, looking ahead to Edmond Santa Fe. Back on Inside Tiger Football in just a moment.
Introducing QT Pay, the easiest way to transform every trip, every treat, and every gallon into instant savings every time you pay. All within the QT app. QT Pay. It just makes sense.
Hello, Tulsa. Shields All Sports Store is opening October 19th at the Woodland Hills Mall. Join us in the parking lot for the grand opening party at 7 a.m. with doors officially opening at 9:30. Step inside to the ultimate retail experience. Shop your favorite brands, meet our Shields experts, and enjoy entertainment like a Ferris wheel or Fuzzywigs Candy Factory. Whether you love the great outdoors, sports, or fashion, Shields has something for you. Join us for Shields' grand opening on October 19th.
Welcome back to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. We are here for our player segment, getting an opportunity to look at the defensive side of the ball. We've got Nathan Martin on our left, John Broehl on our right. Guys, thanks for coming on to the podcast. Chance to look at the defense a little bit after last week's great second half as well. That's going to be fun. We'll get to that, of course, but let's just chat with you guys a little bit about being back here playing football again for Broken Arrow. We're kind of getting into the dog days of the season a bit here. District has started. It's a 1-1 record in district right now. How do you guys feel just inside that locker room right now about district play and kind of the stretch that's upcoming here?
I feel great. I mean, as a team, we feel great. You just got to go 1-0 every single week. Don't focus on the whole season as a whole. Just right now, we're just focused on Edmond Santa Fe.
Yeah, as a unit, I feel like we're doing quite well. We're focusing on ourselves, doing us, as Blake always talks about. So I feel like as a unit, we're focusing on ourselves and just going week by week, 1-0, like Marty said.
Yeah, looking at the schedule, I think it's been fun to see so far. Big test on the road against the Wausau. You guys learned a lot in that game. Came back, bounced back against Yukon. But let's be honest, first half, it was a situation where you guys went into the locker room having to have some conversations for sure. But this defense in particular stepped up a ton. Nathan, you're a linebacker, defensive tackle. John Broehl, you guys stood out in that game. One of the reasons why we wanted to get you on the podcast, talk about that message in the locker room from not just Coach Holly, but Coach Blank and everybody involved in what was a rebound second half and a shutout for the defense.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we just we didn't prepare like we needed to prepare throughout the week, and we underestimated our opponent, and we learned from that, and we won't do that going forward. But during the half, we make a lot of corrections about where to go and what to do, but those were corrections we should have made on Thursday. And hopefully we learn from that next week and go into the first half playing like we did in the second half of the last game.
Yeah. For usually the message isn't different. I mean, we just weren't doing us. We were playing like individuals. But once we started playing as a unit, like Blankenship always speaks about, we started a roll, as you saw. A shutout in the second half, and we just started to fundamentally be better and more sound.
Looking at that second half in particular, playing on the defensive side of the ball, you get to have a little bit of fun in certain ways, right? John, you in particular, you were on a roll, getting to the quarterback late in that game. What's that like as a defensive player when you just get in one of those runs like that? And Nathan, you've had some of those yourself this year as well. You just pick up that momentum each play after each play. Just talk about the thrill of not just doing that, but doing that at home. At Broken Arrow, it's a big game. You're already getting to the quarterback quite a bit in that second half, and then you just keep getting there.
I feel like you just start rolling. Everything kind of slows down for you in the game. You start to see hands 10 times better. You start to just see what you're doing better, and everything slows down for you to where you're able to do it maximum speed and just see it better.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you work for, is those type of plays. I mean, man, it's fun. It makes football fun when you're winning and you're dominating. And when you get on a roll, the other team doesn't want to play against you, and that's what I've been dreaming of for my whole life.
Yeah, looking at the defense throughout the year, you guys have made some improvements as the year has gone along. What's maybe been something that's really stuck out to you guys in the process this year? I know everybody kind of looks at the X's and the O's, the wins and the losses, but there's a process that leads you guys to where you're at today. What has been really something that stuck out to you in this year in your journey in football about the process this season? On the defensive side of the ball, it's been unique.
I feel like it's mainly a mental process going into the week. Mentally, we've been a lot more locked in throughout the week, not so willy-nilly, and just mentally locked in on our job and what we were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, the coaches always preach, you play how you practice how you play. And I think in years past and then even weeks past, we haven't been doing that. But we've just been focused on practicing with extreme physicality, being really locked in and doing our job every single play.
Yeah, talking about focus, you guys, of course, are in the classroom as well all the time, making sure you take care of business there. Your classmates that don't see you maybe on the field but see you in the classroom, they sort of know you a little bit off of the field. But people that come into the stands, they check you guys out. They watch your game on the defensive side of the ball. Who is Nathan Martin and John Broehl maybe off of the field? If you had a free day where you're not focused on football, what does that look like for you guys?
Usually I'm out and about. I'm spending time with my people, seeing the people that, I don't get to see on the field on a daily basis. So maybe I'm out, doing mini golf, something stupid, just being a kid, doing something.
Yeah, again, I'm extremely extroverted. I love being with friends. I never like being alone. You might find me doing a lot of homework.
Yeah, fair enough, right? Yeah, no doubt. Well, you guys, of course, have a unique opportunity. It is a field of work that you guys are in particular is what we could call it, that requires a lot of you. It's taxing throughout the week, but each week's a new week, and you got Edmond Santa Fe coming up. Talk about the early prep so far this week, and not just that, but your outlook on an opponent like Edmond Santa Fe and what you guys feel about that game so far.
A lot of film study. We go in during lunch and watch film. We watch film after school, before practice, after practice. Just always film. We're practicing real hard, and hopefully that translates. But, it's not about the opponent. It's about us just doing our job. We're not really even focused on Edmond Santa Fe. We're focused on ourselves. and getting better.
Like Marty said, it's film here every single day, putting in the hours, even outside of meetings. You just got to do film, take down your notes, stuff like that. That's mainly the look. But like Marty said, it's doing us. Because if we don't do us, then like you saw last Friday, first half, we let up 28. So we just got to keep doing us and focus on us.
Looking at the depth chart on the defensive side of the ball, everybody kind of keeps each other in check, right? This is a deep team this year. What's it like with your other teammates as well? They kind of make you better, I would assume, each and every day during practice. And to get those first team snaps and to get those opportunities each and every week and compete for those spots, what's that like with your other teammates as well?
It's just a competition every week. It's a 1-0 mentality. It truly is every single day, every single week. Because if you don't go 1-0 that week, then you may be not starting that week. So it's really just a competition, and it's awesome because you see it on the output on the field. So it's great.
Yeah, I mean, you just get to, push each other. Linebackers, D-line, we rotate a lot. And we have to because otherwise, you'll get tired, you'll get beat up. But we got to, really push each other to do great things.
We've had one of your teammates on the podcast so far, Cole Lamont. He stands out on the pieces of paper we print out in the office every week, of course, in tackles. Talk about his leadership, just playing alongside him, and what's that been like being his teammate this year? He's leading the way in a lot of ways defensively, and you guys are following right there with suit.
I mean, he's always locked in. He's always dialed in. I mean, he's the leader of our defense. He always knows what he's doing, and he's always making plays. He gets everybody right. Whenever you make a mistake, he knows you made a mistake, and he'll tell you about it. And he's the leader.
Looking at this upcoming week on Friday night, message to Tiger Faithful from you guys, and what's an important road game? You'll be back at home, but it'll be eventually here soon. Big road game. There's going to be plenty of people, I'm sure, that'll travel on out. Just what's the mindset like for you guys, and message to Tiger Nation here coming into this upcoming game?
Going into it, it's the same message as always, doing us. And I do believe we do got the opportunity to go win. But like Coach Holly says in our defensive meeting, everyone can beat everyone. This is 6A football.
Right.
Anybody can beat anybody. If we do us, though, we will come out with the win, I do believe.
Yeah, every team has good players. They got a guy at running back, and, it's going to be a hostile environment. We're going to go into it down 14-0. We got a 2-hour drive over there. But as long as we do us and we focus on us, not the distractions, we'll win the game.
There you have it. Linebacker Nathan Martin, defensive tackle John Broehl. We want to thank you guys for coming on to the show. We'll wrap things up with your head coach here soon. Coach Blankenship will come back after the break. Inside Tiger Football brought to you by Rib Crib.
Tulsa Bone and Joint, Northeast Oklahoma's sports medicine experts. We are pleased to help you and the athletes in your life with a number of surgical and non-surgical options. Tulsa Bone and Joint is proud to serve as team orthopedist for local high schools such as Broken Arrow, Owasso, Sapulpa, Cascia Hall, and Bishop Kelly. We're also proud to be team orthopedist for FC Tulsa. Tulsa Bone and Joint, moving life forward.
Around the clock, throughout eastern Oklahoma, we're devoted to improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends and neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
At Ascension St. John, you'll find advanced heart care, brain and spine care, and personalized cancer care. And we excel just as much in the things that can't be measured. Listening more closely, caring more compassionately.
Welcome back to Inside Tiger Football, brought to you by Rib Crib. Our final segment of the day looks ahead to yet again another road game. Edmond Santa Fe is up next, and this is a district game that is important leading into a tough stretch of the schedule for sure. Norman North on the slate. You get down to Union eventually as well, and this is what you ask for each and every season is the district play. Once it gets here, you get to make the biggest impact in your lineup as far as how you'd like to approach it, as well as in the standings. It's kind of a weird district. Of course, I'm brand new to it. But at the end of the day, the score lines that I look across the district are interesting. Things that you expect don't happen, and things that you maybe do expect do. So it's an enigma of a district right now.
It is, and it'll continue to sort itself out, and the best teams will be at the top when it's all said and done, and the teams that are struggling for an identity, that they'll find their way down to the bottom of the standings. That's just sports, and that's the way it works. But you're 100% right. Right now, when you haven't really seen everybody yet, you just got to assume that they could get you if you don't play your best. And we're not thinking about the record. We're not thinking about who's after Edmond Santa Fe. We're not even thinking about Edmond Santa Fe, other than the fact that we have to travel and go on the road there, and what those challenges are. We're dialed in on us right now, and I think our kids really have a sense of urgency that we have been trying to teach and instill about how you have to play district play with a 1-0, that's all that matters mentality. And I think our kids are in a great position to really connect those dots. A lot of times when you win, you sweep a lot of things under the rug that need to have a sense of urgency and getting corrected. When you lose, all those things get exposed. But sometimes it's hard to pull them out of the grief, the despair from a loss, to teach those things with a sense of urgency. When you go through what we went through in the first half, but then still have the resiliency and the grit to go win by two scores, there's a joy and an elation, but also oh yeah, I understand all that now. We have to prepare differently. And I think we're going to see a new group. We've been talking about we have to learn how to win, and those last few inches of learning how to win are the hardest. That's what that was. And that took me a weekend to process, but I think we're going to get way more out of that win and the way that we won that game than maybe any other scenario that could have played out.
Yeah, I think the player segment really brought that to light, right? I mean, a guy like Nathan Martin, he's a National Merit Scholar for a reason. He's number one in his class, and he recognized it really quickly when I asked him the question of that evaluation of the first half. I think he got the hindsight perspective immediately that, maybe Thursday, maybe Wednesday should have looked different for me or for my teammates based on what we went out there and played like in that first half in some senses. And so I think they recognized that for sure. Edmond Santa Fe, maybe not a team that if you aren't preparing right, you get away with in a first half like that next time round. So this is a program, of course, that's produced a lot of talent. Guys that I've worked with in my past, like Calvin Bundage, an OSU star, a guy that was not only able to perform there, but perform well during a very dominant Big 12 era. It's Edmond Santa Fe every year, and at the end of the day, they're sneaky and they can get it done. What does this team look like to you, however, in reality right now? It's a program that has history, but what are they right now?
They're unbelievably dangerous. I don't even think it's sneaky. Everybody knows about their running back. He is elite, and if he gets a crease of space, he is gone. We're familiar with him. My first year here, we played against that same running back when he was a freshman, and he was elite then. They've got a quarterback that we know really well because he was at Union last year as a backup and won 4 games for them. That guy is dangerous, and he will all of a sudden make a play even when you think everything was broken down. They've got some defensive linemen that are big and physical, and they've got a secondary that can fly around. They are dangerous, just like everybody in our district is, but they've got a few more weapons at their disposal than maybe even some of the teams that we played.
Yeah, I think looking at the defensive side of the ball too, that's what you're preparing for this week. Offensively, wanting to get off on the right foot and pound the rock. I think everybody in this district knows that this is a Broken Arrow team that's going to bring pressure on you with the run game, as we've mentioned in the show already. Looking at Edmond Santa Fe's defense, trying to take advantage of that, is it right back to the table with it?
That's who we are. We certainly acknowledge the challenges that we think we're going to have in the game based on who they have, their personnel. But you also can't get away from who our personnel is and what we're good at and what our strengths are. And so that's not changing.
Talk about maybe the message to your players of embracing that challenge and embracing the fun of that. I think some guys just thrive in environments where they know they're kind of the enemy.
Yeah, you have to treat it like an underdog. And again, you talk about lessons that you hope they learned. We talked about going into Mustang treating it as if you're down 2 touchdowns already. The officiating's different. The environment's different. Whether it's loud and distracting or even quiet and almost odd, which is what I've heard is a little bit more what Santa Fe's environment is right now. So we'll have to bring our own juice, our own energy, our own focus, and that stuff has got to travel.
Yeah, and finally, before we wrap up, let's just go back and recollect a little bit on the atmosphere, of course, for homecoming at Broken Arrow. You got a chance to kind of take it in. I know you're kind of chomping at the bit a bit to just get the game going for sure, but another great atmosphere, great to recognize so many greats. Of course, Tayshaun Jones-Wade's family being recognized alongside some others as well. It was just a great night.
It's unbelievable every time we get to play here, and the homecoming edition just makes it even more special, then especially when you cap it off with a win. So the environment's unreal. I was just talking to somebody about it. If we found ourselves in an overtime at home, I wonder if it's better to do the overtime down by the student section or down by the band.
Yeah.
Because either one is a benefit for us. But I absolutely love playing at home, and I love that our kids love playing at home.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. The pride of Broken Arrow, just as good as the student section when it comes to rounding people up. Head coach Josh Blankenship, everybody, of course, we want to thank you for coming on. That'll wrap it up for Inside Tiger Football this week. It is on to Edmond, Santa Fe on the road. This has been an edition of Inside Tiger Football brought to you by Rib Crib.